This is the slurp barrel from the computer game Fortnite, and apparently if you come close to it and blow it up, you get some health. And this is what we're going to model. I'm going to bring in a reference image right here, Slurp Factory Map 5 PNG. You can find that on the internet. Maybe I'll link to that. I'll make it a little bit bigger. And I'm just pressing G to grab, and I'm moving it so my 3D cursor is pretty much at the bottom of the barrel. We may have to move it again. All right, let's start with that anyhow. Now, Shift A, Mesh, Cylinder. Let's go for 18 vertices, and for the cap fill, let's choose nothing. So there's nothing on the top and the bottom. Press 1. Let's go into edit mode and Z for wireframe, and let's just move this up and S to scale and get the approximate size of this and approximately centered. Now I'm going to go Control R, click to put an edge loop, and I want this edge loop to be right here, so I'm going to press A to select it all and G, and I'm just going to move it down just so it's somewhat central. Just like that. Okay, deselect. Shift Alt and click that edge. S to scale. I'm going to pull it out. Control B to bevel. And I'm going to start pulling like this. And what I want is these edge loops here. This one right in the middle of this thing. This one right in the middle of that thing. Select the whole thing now. And I'm going to S to scale it. SZ to scale in the Z. That's to scale it. And I'm just approximating the size by scaling in the Z and just doing something like that. Okay, cool. I'm now going to select this edge loop, holding Shift and Alt and this one. And I'm going to press Control B, and I'm going to roll my mouse back to 0 so I just have a space like this. E and Alt S and push. So it sort of simulates what I see there. Okay, with those faces still selected, I'm going to come to individual origins and SZ and do this. It's going to angle them down a little bit, just give, I think, a little bit nicer effect. I'm now going to press 2 for edge selection and Shift and Alt and click that edge. Look from the front, Z for wireframe. And I'm going to Control B to bevel, pull, and get the approximate width of this edge in here, that line. E and Alt S, push out just a little bit, and let's look at that. Let's press Control 2 for 2 subdivisions, look again, and see how it's holding up. Okay, yeah, very good. Scale it just a little bit. So far, so good. Now, I'm going to shade smooth. To make these look a little bit more distinguished, we can do a couple of things. We can bring an edge loop up and down like that. And now it sticks out a bit better. So I think I'll do that. Bring an edge loop. Not too close. We could also, if we wanted to, come in here and in edge selection, Shift and Alt and click these edges here and go Shift E and pull to crease them. And that may or may not give us what we want. I think I like that. So let's come in here now and try this one. Let's do another edge loop down and edge loop there. Sort of similar distance, just to accentuate that a little bit more. Alright, so we're starting to get the basics of our barrel. Let's have a look at another reference. We have this one, and this piece. Alright, we're going to need to do the top, but from what I can see, the top part of this barrel, I think, continues up, and then there's this round part and this part. You can just see it there. So let's work on that. So before I do that, I'm going to select my reference image, I'm going to move it back and out of the way. I can still see it through there. Okay. Back into my barrel. I'm going to select this top edge, and I'm going to press F to make a face. With that face selected, I'm going to Control B to bevel, and I'm going to pull down a bunch, roll my mouse up to get a nice curve like that. Then I'm going to come in here. I'm going to press I to inset and come in a certain distance. Now, I'm not sure exactly how big these are. Let's get a sense for them. So maybe S, maybe a little bit smaller. Let's try that. E to extrude. And we're going to bring it up. We can always adjust this. I to inset, pull it in a ways. E to extrude, pull it down. I to inset, pull it in. We'll come up a bit. E to extrude, come up. Control B to bevel, and just put a few edges there, just like that. Nah, not like that. Let's do it more. Control B to bevel, pull down to round it out. And the only other thing we need to do is to see whether it looks like it's got a hole. Looks like it's got a hole in the middle. So we'll do that. Select that face, I to inset a bit more. Come in. And I think I will pull it down a little bit further. I to inset just a little bit more. We'll leave it at that. But we're going to fix this up now. Okay, we're going to put some edge loops on this. So edge loop here. Towards the end. We don't have to do it all the way. An edge loop here. I want it a little bit rounded on the inside. Let's go in here. Drag an edge loop down. And maybe we'll do something on this thing as well. Put an edge loop down here. Maybe an edge loop, let's see, up. That's probably good enough for the top. And then, like I say, we can change the height of that if we want. And on the bottom, I'm just pretty much going to close it. I'm going to round it a bit. So I'm going to go F to make a face and Control B. And we'll just do this. And then we'll do the bottom piece later. All right, so we have that so far. And it's roughly looking like the diagram. So now we need to do the top. And I'm going to be using a subdivision surface. And it's not always easy to get a cutout in a subdivision surface. And there are a couple of different ways that you can approach this, but this is the way that I am going to suggest we do it. All right. I'm going to come in and I'm going to select these faces. So I went to face selection and Shift and Alt and click. Shift S, cursor to select it. So I just want to bring my 3D cursor there, and I want to work in that region. I'm going to look from the front, and I'm going to bring in a plane, go into edit mode, rotate X 90, and I'm going to scale it down until it's kind of the shape of this top. All right, I can move it, adjust it, and just roughly the shape of that top, and then I can adjust that later. All right, I'm going to come out, select that piece and hide it, and just deal with the plane that I've got there. All right, I'm going to scale this in the X a little wider, like this, and then I'm going to press I to inset and pull in, and I want this to be my cutaway, which is going to be essentially this. All right, so I'm going to bring it in. I can scale in the Z a little bit if I want, a little narrower. I'm going to go Control R, put one edge loop there, Control R, an edge loop there, and then Control B to bevel. And I want not two edges on the left and the right, but three. So I rolled up one, and I'm going to pull it like this to about that position. Now I'm going to press 1 for a vertex selection and select these two vertices and these two. And we're going to round it off a little bit because it's a bit of a rounded rectangle. So I'm going to go SX. Pull them in just a little bit. Now I happen to be in individual origins for some reason, so median point SX, just like that. That's good enough. Okay, now I'm going to select, let's see, I want to get box select these top vertices and these bottom ones, and I'm going to pull them in a little bit more. I'll show you why. SZ. I'm going to do that because now I want another part on top. So I'm going to go E, S, Z, scale in the Z. And I'm going to pull out like that. Good enough. Okay, I'm going to go into solid view now. So it's not exactly the size, but it's close. Okay. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to box select the left and the right, and I'm going to extrude these out. E, S, X. I'm going to start pulling them. And I'm going to pull them so that they're about 1.5 times the size of the top. All right, so I'm going to have a hole here and a space and a space. I'm going to curve this around. This is going to make half of the top. So I'm going to have a hole in the front, a hole in the back with some space. So these are about 1.5 times out. I'm going to roll my mouse up and Control R and put in 3 edge loops. And there we go. Now, number 3, deselect. I press C for circle select or paint select. And I want to grab those. I want to delete those faces and Control R and pull that in a little bit, just for a little bit more support. And that's it. Now, if I go Control 2, you'll see that I get a nice circle here. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to take this and we're going to come over to the modifiers. I've already got my 2 subdivisions. Just leave that there. Come down to modifier, simple deform, choose Z, bend, and 180 degrees. So that's going to wrap around half. I can go ahead and shade smooth and you should see a nice sort of rounded rectangle in there. It's not the exact same shape as this one, but I'm okay with that. All right, I'm going to turn off the subdivision for now and go ahead and apply the deform. Deselect, Shift and Alt and click that edge, and then bring the 3D cursor there by going Shift S, cursor to select it. So it's like if this was a circle, which it will be in a moment, the 3D cursor would be in the middle. With the 3D cursor there and my object selected, I'm going to set the origin to the 3D cursor. Now I can mirror this in the Y. I'll turn on clipping and I get a full circle. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and apply that mirror and go into edit mode, select everything, and merge by distance just in case any points weren't merged. Now, if I turn on the subdivision surface, you can see I've got my holes in the back. I'm going to go into edit mode, Alt N, recalculate outside in case I needed to, E, Alt S, and I'm going to pull inwards to give some thickness to this. I'll pull in about that far. You can see some thickness here, which is this thickness there. Now I'm going to Alt N, recalculate outside just in case I needed to do that. Now there's another thing I need to do. In face selection, Shift Alt and click that top row there. I'll turn off the subdivision. All right, so you can see this. E, Alt S, push to bring that in as another little lip, sort of. All right, now I'm going to Shift and Alt and click on that edge and get rid of it. X, dissolve edges. So that this is like just a flat top, and I've got this edge, Shift Alt and click, and this edge, Shift Alt and click. I hope I have enough room to get this done. I think I might. Control B, pull, and keep pulling till the middle lines are very close. Roll my mouse up a couple of times. I'm not worried about polys. Deselect, put back on the subdivision surface, and I've got that lip on the inside. Okay, we can touch this up a little bit by coming in here, Control R, Control B, roll back so you have just 2 edges on the outside and pull it near the outside just to sharpen that up a little bit. Do the same on the other one. Control B, pull, like that. Okay. If you want, if this edge bothers you on the inside, we can do some work on that. I could see about dissolving that edge, make that a little bit less sharp. It doesn't really matter that much. All right, let's bring back everything else. You can see that I'm off my model. A good way to fix that is to come back in here, select something that's central like this, Shift S, cursor is selected. My 3D cursor is there. Select this, set the origin to the 3D cursor, and then set the geometry to origin. And we can see that it's much closer. Let's go into edit mode and let's scale this and bring it into position. Now I haven't really done anything with the bottom, so let's do that first. Let's just come in here and drop an edge loop here, maybe one on the inside. So we'll do that. Okay, so flatten it out, pull this down, and see, it lines up pretty good with the diagram. There is a little bit more though. It looks a little bit angled to me, more so in this picture as we're looking at it. If I hide that, all right, just because of the way the picture is. If we look at some of these ones, there's a slight taper, it looks like, although in some of these images it doesn't. I think I'm going to go ahead and add something there. And the way I'm going to do that is come over to Simple Deform again. I'm going to go to Taper in the Z and type in 0.04 maybe. Okay, see if you can see. You could try 0.05. I don't think I would go much more than that on this. And I think I'm probably going to leave it at that. Now, with that, I'm not sure this piece is tall enough anymore. When I go back to these, it looks like it comes up pretty much to the lip there. So let's just touch that up a little bit. So what's going on here? So I've got that. Now, what do I need to do? I need to pull this whole thing up. So let's do that. So let's see. Let's come in here, select all of these, and just keep hitting Control plus until I get to there. And now I can pull this up to about there. And I'm actually going to pull this down a little bit. So I'm going to select Control plus, and I'm going to push this down. There. Now I've got what I need. I'm going to switch over to the cavity shader. All right, to make the bottom part, let's just select any edge, Shift D, pull it all the way down, P to break it out, look from the front, S to scale, and position it right about there, extrude, scale it out a little bit. I think the whole thing is S Shift Z. You're going to have to be bigger. Pull it up. And for this piece, well, I could, yeah, let's just, let's focus just on that. And let's go E and Alt S and push to give it some thickness this way. Throw an edge loop in here. I mean, this is just going to attach to the bottom anyhow. So we'll just do this like this. We'll shade smooth and bring everything back, and then we'll just look. To be honest, this edge is a little bit sharp in my opinion, so I'm going to take it and I'm going to press GG to edge slide it. Actually, you know what? I'm going to delete that, dissolve that. I think I'll bevel instead. So I'm going to get rid of those edges. I'm going to grab both of these edges and Control B, pull, and put maybe one edge in there. And I don't know if that looks any less sharp than it was, but hopefully a little bit. Okay, so that is that. I just want to look in wireframe and see if I like how it connects. I mean, we're a little bit off the diagram, but that's still pretty good. Okay, I'm going to hide that. Let's make sure everybody is playing nice. They are. All my polys are facing the right way. All right, let's come over to, choose a matte cap to check this out. I'm going to switch to both and bring these values up. And I'll turn these off. And there is my model. Okay. Statistics. It's certainly not low poly if you wanted to have a lot of them, but for just a static render like this, it's obviously just fine. All right, so I'll think about if I want to texture this or not, or move on to something else.